Welcome back to the Woodsman Podcast. We're your hosts, Brent Murphy,
And Joey Rucker.
and this is Chillcast, Episode 2.
Is it Chillcast episode 2?
It is Episode 2.
Oh, it is episode 2, you're right.
We just haven't released Episode 1.
Oh, yeah. As that's per usual.
That'll be for Patreon. Don't worry, guys. We have plans. We have big plans.
Big plans.
It's not like we possibly didn't do the topic we were going to do last minute and we're sitting in the garage at 10:30 at night and are going to run on no sleep.
Can you really call it last minute? Instead of it being last minute, we're actually
It was actually very impromptu.
We're just not... We couldn't find time.
Hey. Listen, man. We always find time for chat.
And that's what this is. This is us finding time, but not in a regular Woodsman-y episode. This is chill.
I mean, yeah, I guess you're right. This is pretty laid back compared to usual. As you guys can tell, there's obviously no video. So
Yes.
that's one difference.
That's one difference. Do you think every Chillcast will have no video, or do you think, should that be a staple of it, or do you think we should
Well, I don't
still
know.
have video once in a while for chill episodes?
It depends on what the people want, honestly, because
Yeah, we'll get some feedback.
Because I personally want to make the Chillcast more of a Patreon kind of exclusive, And that one I would assume would be filmed. That one would just be more laid back, no topics, just kicking it back with the bro.
Mm.
But you also want to put it on the main feed, maybe kind of like as a separate
Well,
playlist
I
thing or
think-
something. But
Well, no, that's
which
true.
I mean, yeah, that's a good idea. But we also cater to our fans on Spotify, bruh,
No, I know.
and
I
Apple
know.
Podcasts.
Eventually. By the time this episode comes out, we won't have that yet. But we will.
We got a plan for the future, brother.
That's true. I want to do all that. I'm just so YouTube-minded because it's like the only thing I do.
Yeah, you're a YouTuber at heart, bro, and we need to get you off that wave.
Hell no. This year marks 10 years for me being on
10
YouTube.
years.
10 years
That's
this year.
your tin-anniversary.
Anniversary.
Yeah.
Yes.
It should be themed all tin. Like, if anyone watches New Girl, they know what I mean. Shout out Nick Miller.
That's our boy.
Eventually, Jake Johnson will have us on
Could you
his
imagine
podcast
having
with
Jake?
Gareth.
No, better yet, can you imagine Jake Johnson being on our podcast?
He is like
Could you
the
imagine?
perfect representation of a woodsman.
Did you watch the episode of Two Bears with him as the?
Of course I did. Did you watch the 2 episodes of We're Here to Help with Bert on it?
We're here to. Oh no, I did not. I want to
There
though.
are 2 episodes with Bert on it.
Really? Already?
Yeah, because they're friends.
Did they come out pretty close together, or are they completely 2 different episodes that they
No,
just?
they came out closer together.
Did he
But here's
record
the
the
thing,
first
I'm
when
kinda
Bert did
binging.
not hot ones? Cooking, whatever his cooking show is.
Oh,
is
Something's
that around?
Burning?
Is Something's Burning? Did
I
he?
want to say the first one might have
Was
been
when he
around
did
that
that
time,
one?
yeah.
No.
But I am not really sure because We're Here to Help is around 30 to 40 minutes long. So it's a pretty fast binge compared to my normal 2 to 3 hour podcast.
Yeah.
So I'm just flying through them right now. So it's
Yeah.
really hard to take you seriously. I know chat can't
Dude,
see
honestly, I forgot.
but Joey's currently wearing alien sunglasses, and every time I look at him, because the glasses don't really fit his head, it just doesn't match. But somehow it
Because
still
they don't
creeps
fit
me out.
my head. I just heard what you said.
Well, I mean, they
No,
don't fit my head either.
I bet they fit yours.
They
better
look
than
like an
mine.
alien's head. Eyes.
Isn't that the goal?
Yeah.
That's the point of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny doing another podcast where we don't know what we're going to talk about, because we did that for the first 3 or 4 episodes of Woodsman. But interestingly enough, this is the first one we've done where I'm I really have no idea what the to talk about.
I have no expectation whatsoever. All I know is this was supposed to be the test run for the opening, and
But you kept talking,
we're
so
still
I kept
going.
talking.
We're still going. We're 5 minutes in, so I guess this is
This
gonna
is
be the
it.
start
This
of
is
the
it.
episode.
This is the episode.
I'm such a loser. Swear to God, I'm the worst.
Oh yeah, roll the clip.
Yep.
I'm such a loser, swear to God, I'm the worst.
And there you go. That was
And welcome back, chat. So we normally don't have a cold open where we're actually talking, but I guess that was our intro this time. So
This is gonna be an interesting
know,
episode. This episode is unhinged,
very.
and
I'm just
I
glad
like it that way.
I'm just glad that me and Joey were on the same page for that, and we know to put the music in right there.
Yep.
And if we don't, well, then we're just gonna look dumb. So
You know what we can talk about? In true woodsman-y fashion, every episode of the, main show, we have a segment where we talk about what's new with the podcast setup, how things are going, updates.
yeah.
Let me give
yeah.
you an update, my friend. But you already know this. This is more for the viewers or the listeners.
For chat.
The other night, I was recording an episode for my channel, Pie Master J. It was actually last night, wasn't it? It was last night as of the time of this recording.
The days just blur together.
And as I'm about to start recording, I set up my microphone. Same microphone I use for the Woodsman podcast, which is a Shure SM7B. As I plug everything in, nothing's working. It's peaking, spiking, whatever you want to call it. Everything is going wrong. And I broke down, man. I broke down. I was like, this is it. This was my first good piece of equipment I ever had. No cameras, no lights. Like, the first good thing I had was this mic, and it just decided to die.
And I soiled it.
But then we planned to do this episode tonight, and we showed up. We start setting things up. We decided to test it, see what specifically about the mic was broken. And you sweet daddy cream over here, Mr. Brent.
For chat, because he's never once said that a day in his life. That is my nickname on Fortnite. And it has been that since we
For
were 19
years
years
now.
old. And I told him to not change it.
Yeah,
I told him
he's always going to be
I
sweet
told
daddy
him to
cream
never
on
change
Fortnite.
it because I will always be his sweet daddy cream.
I don't even know how I thought of it.
I don't
but-
even know what that's supposed to mean. But
I don't either.
But I'm glad it's there. So
But yeah, so we brought the mic here, we set it up, we were going to figure it out, and then...
yeah, he had a bad cable.
Mr. Cream himself found out that it was
Yes.
all just a bad cable. But we're recording with the SM7B right now still. Like, this is... If you guys think this audio is good, well, you could thank our father, Brent. Not God. I mean, you can thank him, too. He
mean,
probably
yeah.
had a lot to do with it, but...
God created me who
was able to
created
fix the mic.
the
It's all part of God's plan.
yeah, God's plan. Oh man, dude, we just got demonetized from two words right there.
From what?
God's plan.
Oh. You know, I heard that on YouTube right now for videos. I don't think if it works for live, but and I haven't tested this, but I heard that if you say subscribe, that anyone watching the video now, if they look at the subscribe button when any person in a video says subscribe, the button will like glow.
What?
I don't know how that works or what the technology is, but I heard that, yeah, like if we are on a YouTube video right now and we say subscribe,
It'll go ping.
I think. I mean, I heard this from Markiplier,
That's-
so it's not like
That
I'm
would
getting
be
it.
interesting. I would be interested to see if that's actually what's happening, because
My throat made a noise.
I really hope your mic picked that up, because
I think it
because
did.
that was loud.
That was really
That
loud.
was really loud.
So yeah, what?
Honestly, Joey's just in disbelief that he's even here right now.
Dude, I know.
After-
I'm like in
after
my
that
own world.
whole ordeal.
You know what I want to talk about?
What, Joseph?
Have you seen the trailer? I know you've seen it. I saw your story, but
For
the
Avatar.
trailer for Avatar.
Yeah, I cried a little bit, bro.
Dude, literally everyone that I see on social media is saying the same thing, which is that it is
They
getting
better not
harder and
screw it up.
harder to keep my expectations low. Or high? Yeah, low.
Yeah,
Because
low.
like everyone wants to keep them low so they're not disappointed again. But now the
It looks
trailers
so
keep getting
good.
better and it looks so good, dude.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for the trailer to pop off that hard.
Neither was I. Like, and they had, dude, did you see Boomy?
Yeah, he looked good.
Boomy looked great.
He looked good.
So did Jet, but Jet was only in it for like half a second. What's her name? Jade
I'm just so happy that they're so far going into that much detail.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's going to be a series.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also interested to see if they're going to go, like, maybe episode by episode. Or, because I don't know if it's supposed to be, like, an hour long or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
I don't really know what the setup is, but...
I'm not sure either, but that's kind of also what I've been thinking about is, like, I wonder how they're going to categorize it by season, if they do seasons. Like, if this season does great, wouldn't you think they're going to do another one? And if that's the case, where does season 1 end? Does it end where season 1 ended in the first one? Because I doubt it, because we've already seen clips of Ozai and even, I think, a quick clip what's her name?
That
Azula?
is true. Like, we haven't even seen, well, at least in the show, you weren't even supposed to see Ozai's face until the 3rd season.
Yeah.
So
Big reveal. He was played by Mark Hamill, which was insane.
which I never realized until I got older, and I was like,
Yeah.
what the heck?
Luckily for me, I was so late to the game on Avatar. Like, I watched it with you guys literally, I think, 2 years ago.
I still
Maybe 3.
cannot believe that.
No, it would have been 4 by now. We were watching it in 2020. Like, 2020, man.
2020 was 4 years ago.
It's so awful to think about.
That's terrifying.
That's not really as bad as thinking about how I felt when 2020 was happening, because we all were like, oh, it's the end of a decade. It's the start of a new decade. And now I think we're 4 years into this decade. We only have 6 years left of this decade.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to stop. I don't have enough time to do all the things I'm trying to do, bro.
I'm like, time is running short. I already feel old. Like,
I've been feeling old, man.
I've been feeling
I feel
old.
like my quarter life crisis happened like 5 years ago.
one of my favorite clips so far that we've done on the podcast is where you said, oh, we're about to hit our quarter life crisis. And then we were talking about my health. And we were like, your quarter life crisis happened when you were like 19.
Oh, man. Well, I mean,
You're not wrong.
big changes Sunday.
Big changes Sunday.
Or whatever day.
The thing that sucks is when we...
I mean, this episode will already be out.
This episode will be out, but which means by the time you guys are listening to this, hopefully I'm sticking to it and I'm getting healthy.
Yeah, so we're all gonna take a poll in the comments, guys. We're all gonna see if Joey's over or under 5 days.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna stick to it, man. Like, that's the thing. Another thing that's good about this podcast, whether it's the chill episodes or the Woodsman episodes, now we're actually doing it weekly, unlike 2023. 2023,
Yeah.
we were gonna do it weekly, and we talked about keeping me in check every week because it was part of our goals. Now, but then we didn't actually record any episodes weekly, so I was able to be so fat and lazy. Now it's like, I have nowhere to hide. If I keep showing up for this podcast every week, then I'm gonna have to be like, yeah, I'm still fat.
Hey, bro, I mean, I'm trying to do it with you. I'm trying to cut again because I gained a little bit from, the holidays and everything. Honestly, since Halloween. I love my Halloween candy.
How does it feel to gain and still not look like Is that a nice feeling?
I mean, to me, I feel it.
I'm not saying you don't feel it. I'm sure you feel it. I'm saying when you look in a mirror, you still have one chin, my guy. I look in the mirror and I have
know,
more
man.
every time I look.
My face is pretty round.
Why do you...
I mean, it is.
Is that you? I think you have body dysmorphia or something, man. Cause
What?
is that wild to say? You're not supposed to say that on a podcast.
Yeah, come on, man.
No,
You gotta cut that out.
I think. Oh, never mind. If we're gonna cut that word out, then I'm not gonna go into the thought I was about to say.
Wait, no, you gotta say
No,
it
it's
out.
not
No,
anything
you can't
crazy. I was
start-
just gonna say that I
Okay.
think Isaac also has it, like for sure, but like the opposite of you.
Oh,
where
that he thinks
He
he's
always like looks in a mirror and he's like, I look good today, and
Yeah,
and I'm not
yeah.
trying to like dog on Isaac. I love Isaac, but Like every time he says that, like he holds his stomach down as though it's like rock hard abs, and like you can see the curve of his hand go over his stomach, and it's like, and I'm only allowed to say that because I'm still fat as too. I'm sorry, I'm cussing.
It's
And
been
one
a
thing-
stressful day.
It's been a long day. I only recently found out that my child was still alive. The Mike, I mean, not
Not a child.
not a
named
child.
Mike.
God, I can't have a child yet. There's no way. Could you imagine if you and your girl got pregnant right now? Right now?
No. Are you crazy? I don't even have my own bed,
You could.
let alone a room, let alone a house,
You guys.
let alone a means to feed myself
the garage.
daily.
The garage could be your kid's room.
This is my
That,
room.
or better yet, you renovate the garage. That way you can still live here for now. Completely revamp the whole thing and like have smaller rooms or like maybe 2 rooms in here.
You got high hopes.
I'm just saying you could work things out. You could. No, never mind. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have a kid yet. I
No.
think you'd be a great father.
Thanks, man.
When the time. Sorry, chat. When the time comes, I think you're gonna be a good dad.
I think you would be a phenomenal dad.
I am constantly worried that I'm
That
gonna
you're
have
gonna
anger
get it.
issues.
Oh, that's not.
That I'm
what I
gonna
was-
what? What the hell were you gonna say?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
So, are you like what?
We're struggling, Chad. We're struggling. But anything
I
for
had
you.
the word. I had the words on the tip of my tongue, and I just couldn't say it. So, do you want a girl or a boy more, or are you nervous about having one over the other?
That's a good question because I think the answer has changed over the years. When I was growing up and I was like a teenager to like end of high school, I really wanted a son. Like I've always, and I still do. Like I hands down would love to have a son, just because I don't know. There's something about like the connection that I would always want to have. But I also feel like, it would be a big learning experience for me to have a daughter. Like I know the ins and outs of, growing up as a boy and all the things that a kid needs when you're growing up as a guy. I think it would be a really big learning experience for me if I had a girl.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means I want one necessarily, but I think it would be good for me if I did have a girl.
That's interesting because I'm terrified
Of having
of having a girl.
Really?
Yeah.
You are? But
Yeah.
dude, why though?
Dude, I don't know, man, because the world is a cruel place, and
That's
the
a fair
way
point.
things are right now, I'd be a nervous wreck. I'd probably be in jail. Like, I don't know, man. People are just crazy nowadays. And then, like, just on top of how kids are taught now as well, I think things are just very... It'd be hard not to have a boy where you could instill, like, hey, you gotta stick strong to your morals. You gotta always, like, be strong, be a leader, all that kind of stuff. I mean, like, yeah, like, obviously, you can instill the same things, but I think it's different me being a male nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
it coming from me versus, like, coming from, a woman,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest. And I just think that that's kind of part of the fear, for sure.
I honestly kind of think that you would be a great father to a daughter, mainly because you were, and we've talked about it. You had a dad, and
Yeah.
so you were raised truly by your mom and your grandma, and so you kind of lived in a house by yourself with being raised by women.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely played a part in your life to a point where, like, if you had to then, I can't think of the word, but, like, sort of take what you learned and pass it on, I think it would be really good for a daughter. However, I think you would also be a great father to a son, just because
Dude,
it would
I'd
almost
the
be like
father that I never
you
had.
never had. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like the
That's
moment
why-
you would like the moment you, and I hate to bring it up because I always talk about this, but Shameless, the scene where, and I don't know if you've seen it.
Lip has his kid.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
When Lip has his kid and he sees him for the first time and you just see Lip's like reaction, I could so see you looking at your kid for the first time and being like, "Oh my god, I'm a dad." Like, I'm not going to let
Yeah.
anything happen to this kid. I'm going to be his rock.
Yeah. Nah, dude, I think that day would be a good day.
It's
Be
definitely
pretty
scary. Like, I
yeah.
don't want a kid yet either, obviously, but
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just think no matter when or if the time comes, you know, you never know. You never know how it goes. But you know, if that time comes, no matter if it's a boy or a girl, obviously they're gonna get that love
absolutely.
that I didn't have.
That I never had. That's what, well, you know, I brought up for half a second there the anger issues that I'm afraid of having as a father. I'm afraid truly of it because of my dad. My dad's a great guy. I love him to death. But there have been times growing up where he's lost his cool or he's gotten pissed and he's gone way overboard for what parenting should be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've seen in myself, not even, obviously not with kids, but like in moments where I just have high stress or something has pissed me off and it's you know, flipped that switch that you're never ready to switch.
Yeah.
And then I just go nuts and I go
then,
wild.
And then it bothers you even more because then you're like, oh, this is the one thing I told myself I wouldn't be. And then I just did it, you know. Yeah.
Like I have and not to like out my dad right now, but one thing I've always said
Especially
that
if we have him on the Father's Day episode.
It's fine.
Nod to the future.
Nod to the future. One thing I've always told myself that I'm gonna try as hard as I can to do as a father is, if I get angry, even if I get super pissed, I'm gonna keep a clean mouth. Like I'm not going to sit there and cuss a storm, and like, you know, when my kid is like 9 years old, I'm not gonna be using the F word or the you know, stuff like that. I'm not gonna be screaming at them to the point where I am verbally abusing them, you know?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I mean, I think that's always a good goal. Obviously, I would feel the same. Well, I mean, I do feel the same.
I would feel the same, but them kids.
You know, like, nah, it's the children, man. They're the future. Or so I'm told.
Or whatever. Yeah.
I don't really know, but, you know.
I always think about the fact that one day, kids younger than us, somewhere down the line,
are going to watch this podcast when they're 23.
Totally,
And
yeah.
they're
But I was going to say, will be president.
Yeah, dude.
One day down the line,
here's the thing.
Their age group will be ready for it.
Here's the thing. Are you enough? Do you have enough of your parents' genes? Because I know it comes from your parents. It comes from mine, too. Do you have enough of their genes to say that would be a bad thing or a good thing?
I don't know if having my genes is why I think the answer would sway one way or the other, but
not like your genes, but the way you were raised. Do you think?
I definitely think it has a part to play. I guess I'll just say I think it's going to be terrible.
That's interesting. So you think the people we have running in office now are doing better than a young person that would experience more?
It's not that I think that a young person would be better or worse. It's that I think the culture by the time they can be president will be worse. Not them, but all of culture will be so bad by that point that like everything will be like, it's already an agenda, but imagine how many kids by themselves these days have their own agenda that they expect to deserve. They think they deserve it.
But that's our fault. I'm sorry. In the future, because that means like the kids of now would be 25.
Yeah.
And we'd be in our,
No, you're right. It would
late
be our
40s,
fault.
50s.
No, but honestly,
it's
that's
our
true.
fault for,
It is our fault.
you know, and I think if we can be the transitional generation to correct how crazy things are right now, you know, pushing instead of an agenda, pushing like, hey man, the only way to move forward is through unity, through everybody, you know. We don't exclude anybody due to, you know, race or religion or anything, you know. Like, it's up to us to instill the morals of being able to respect people for
But do
who
you
they
think
are.
we can do that? Do you
I
think that we will?
Well, I think that's the question. Do you care enough to take action to instill that?
That is the question. You're right, because
You
I
know?
don't know. I don't know. Well,
It would
that's the
be,
genuine
it would
answer.
be you teaching your kids that. It would
That
be,
in that case scenario, yes, I will do
but it
everything in
would
my
also,
power.
But it would also be like using things of influence. Well, I guess like the podcast, you know, it would be using things of influence to spread that agenda over, you know, an agenda of, oh, I only want to get to the top because it's going to benefit me, you know, type of thing. You know, I don't think anyone is born to be a leader. I think leaders are appointed because people see that they're different and that they know how to, you know, they know how to treat people. And, you know, I think we follow so many blind leaders now that I think we've kind of like lost sight of what a real one truly is.
Do you think that in a hypothetical situation, if government gone,
Yeah.
do you think the world would be a better place?
Yeah, I think we can make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we've become so dependent on it because there are so many restrictions on like what you can and can't do on land that no one should have any jurisdiction over in general. You know, I think like to pay for water is crazy when like that is the basic necessity of life, you know. I think it's ridiculous to like, you know, do that when if there's a need, you know, and people can fill it, then like we should fill it in that way, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think people morally don't believe that, you know, oh, that person's starving, like, oh, it's their fault. Like, you know, I don't think we are internally wired to think that way. I think that when you're taught that your entire life, that like, oh, someone's less than.
There is some truth to the statement, but it is highly arrogant in its core. Like to say that someone who's homeless or
Yeah.
It's their fault that they can't. There are so many situations and life problems that like we don't ever struggle with. Like it's so easy for someone who lives in a house, has plumbing, power, to say that whoever's homeless should just suck it up and figure it out. Than, you know, if you were actually there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think so many people are prejudiced towards just everybody just based off of, you know, physical or outward appearance that we've just kind of lost sight of the meaning of, you know, what real happiness is. And it's, you know, it's not about whoever gets to the top first or anything like that. It's about making sure that everybody around you is good and making sure everything around you, you know, as far as like the wildlife, as far as like, you know, the plants, you know, I you know, I sound so green, you know, but like, you know, I think there's so much truth to, you know, taking care of your planet should feel fulfilling.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we live in such a government fueled world right now that, you know, we're kind of dictated what we can and can't do even in that perspective. And I think it's very weird that it's so hard to unite and be peaceful, you know, and
it's the snowball, you know, effect, you know. There was a time, you know, I wasn't there, but there's a time that I believe America was a place of genuine love and fighting for your country and your family, and everybody did their best to get along as they could. Not to say that there obviously wasn't tragedy. There's always been tragedy, but to compare it to today, I just feel like like we said, everyone's got their own agenda. And here, that's a question. Do you think, and this could be controversial, but do you think that, like, how would I word it? Riots, pride parades, stuff like where everybody meets together, whatever the situation may be, do you think those are actually getting the job done that they're setting out to try and do, or do you think it's pushing them back further?
I think it depends on the intent. I think, if I'm going to be honest, if it's publicized, like, TV wise,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, I think it can, push whatever, I say agenda, not in a good or bad way, but just pushing any agenda,
Yeah.
Forward. I think any press, honestly, is good press. That's kind of what they always say, I guess.
Any press is good press? I don't know if I
yeah.
agree with that statement.
Dude, I mean, if you're trying to get known and you're trying to get your name spread out, I mean...
Sure, in that situation, but there is press that can be
Well, I mean,
bad.
anyway, well, yeah, but... I mean, some people just
I'm
want
not
their
trying
name.
to tail
some
off
people
your...
just want their name out there regardless
yeah.
of the consequence, and if that's what you're going to achieve, then that's what you're going to achieve. But
Yeah.
I think in that regard, yeah, but in person, I don't really. I think if anything, people just get annoyed, and to act like people shouldn't be annoyed or anything. I mean, people got things to do. They got places to be, people to meet, phone calls to make.
Mm-hmm.
People are busy.
Yeah.
If you're like holding up people, on the street or whatever, and like you're kind of being like overly obnoxious about it and stuff, then it's like, well, all you're getting, the only publicity you're gonna get is from being annoying, like,
yeah, I think a lot of
so
the people who do that, the
Yeah.
people who go crazy and wild and make a ruckus out of the whole, point of the march or the agenda.
Oh yeah, I forgot you were even talking about riots and stuff too. I mean, that's a whole other. That's a whole other thing.
People who get so angry and hateful about it. I think I can't remember what I was listening to. It had to have been a podcast, but I agree with whoever the statement was that people who get so angry and hateful at these events where they're trying to make change, I think they just hate themselves more than anything.
Like
and
they feel like they have something to prove.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah.
I think that they get blindsided by the fact that they feel powerful in the moment, that there's like a certain energy to being able to be loud and to be expressive and to be able to, say what they think without having to worry about the consequences, that the power goes to their head a bit,
Yeah. And I feel like, well, and I'm pretty sure I've said it at least once or twice on here, but I feel like people would just rather be, they'd rather be right, like in their own mind's eye, than like logical about things. Like people would rather justify in their head like their belief. They'll take whatever they can from what anybody says and kind of run with it, and that like even like goes into the whole cancel culture thing and all of that kind of stuff too. It's just a lot of people take something that they feel strongly about and they'll grab onto whatever information that's out there without even really backing up any of the information.
And we're guilty of it too. Everyone struggles with it, but a lot of people can't even admit it.
It's so common, and yeah, like you said, like it's very hard for people to admit when someone says like, oh, like, well, where did you hear that from? They're like, oh, well,
yeah,
and then
exactly.
they kind of mumble, and you're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, well, from TikTok, and you're like,
Yeah, yeah.
Like what? Like, you know, it's very interesting what people are taking at face value and just taking as truth. Um, I know people probably say the same thing about like all the conspiracy
Mm-hmm.
theory kind of stuff too, and it's like, yeah, I mean, there's some of it out there that's like wild and out there, and you know, none of it has any value besides just face value, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But I mean, there are some where it's like there's some really good information and there's really good research and there's very
Yeah.
credible people with some of that stuff.
Those are
And
the
some of
people that
stuff,
I love. Like,
yeah,
we've talked about it, the fact that we are both Christian, but like I've seen, I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a guy who goes out and his whole thing is that he stands and he expresses the word of God, and anyone who wants to come up and challenge him, do you know who I'm talking about? He's a little older.
yeah.
Anyone who wants to come
He's
up and
really
challenge him are totally welcome, and I love those videos. And I love it for both sides of the argument, because there are some people, the people who I respect the most are the ones who come, who are knowledgeable and who are respectful,
Yeah,
because that's like
yeah.
all you can ask for in a debate. It doesn't have to be this thing where everybody gets so angry and so annoyed.
Well, because everyone feels like they have to debate nowadays, but like really it's just a discussion,
Yeah.
you know? And
What
I
happened to
think,
discussions, man?
yeah, I think people are so bent on like, oh, well, I have to be right and I have to prove my point and I have to
Mhm.
prove all this, and it's like you have nothing to prove.
Yeah.
Like I'm not in the market to make you feel like a loser and
Yeah.
me feel like a winner, you know? Like
Yeah, that's not the goal.
know-
Everyone should be able to believe what they believe and think what they think, but it shouldn't stop you from being able to talk about what you believe and what you think, you know?
Yeah, because you're not gonna get anywhere by excluding people based off of your preconceived notions of what you think they believe in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because oftentimes we get it wrong. I mean, how many times have just we in general just assumed something about one or the other, and then it turned into a way bigger thing than it needs to be. And then if it was like, oh, well, if we just communicated and actually just talked instead of like trying to talk over each other,
Mm-hmm.
we could have had this solved and figured out, and then we wouldn't be in this mess.
Yeah.
You know, and how many times do we do that in the world with big things? You know, people, you know, mistaking someone and, you know, murdering them. You know,
Yeah.
like it's just crazy how much we justify like our own I guess wrongs, you know, in
Mhm.
that way.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just very interesting.
What do you think of cancel culture? Like
Oh,
same overall opinion as like what we just talked about, or do you think there's anything specific to cancel culture that you have like a personal opinion?
you know, cancel culture is a very hard one, mainly because I'm a white male living in California,
And you're straight, don't forget that.
and I'm straight, so
You
know,
check all the wrong
I got,
boxes.
yeah, I got that going for me. I look great on paper, but it's terrible. It's terrible out here. I promise
Great
you.
on
It's
paper.
yeah. I'm a straight shooter on paper. You know, on my resume, I was literally a pool boy. California pool boy. But anyways, cancel culture is a tough one because there are a lot of cases that I believe, yeah, some stuff went down. It's tragic, you know. I wish I could sound more empathetic, but as a male who doesn't really know much about any of that kind of stuff, I can't really be any more empathetic than what I hear.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the cases that I have heard that have been publicized, mind you, because a lot of the cases that tend to be, at least in my experience of researching, like the
Mhm.
little research I've done, most of the ones that are deemed like real, like, hey, this is a real case, this really did happen, most of those aren't really the publicized ones. Most of those are like the ones where you actually have to go and like find those kind of cases, you know. Most of the publicized ones that I've seen, a lot of them, there's not a lot of evidence to, at least to me, either not a lot of evidence or they're contradicting like things.
I think it
going
depends, but I do
on,
agree with you.
No, yeah,
mostly.
there are some where I'm like, buddy, like, yeah, you definitely did it. And sadly, one of them, I will say, the Jonathan Majors case. I was trying to hold out, trying to figure that whole thing out.
Why am I blanking?
Kang.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I was really holding out for that one, thinking like, I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of the stuff, but it's like, I watched this 2020 interview, and it was like, bro, they directly asked you if you felt bad for like anything that like happened. Not even saying like he was involved, and Mans just could not say he felt bad for any of it.
Yeah.
Couldn't apologize for any of it. Couldn't anything. And it's like in those cases, like, yeah, you definitely like you've lost respect in my book. That's for sure. Regardless if you did it or not, I don't know. I'm not the one to cast judgment on anybody because I don't know the full story. I wasn't there. But in those kind of cases, you really do lose respect for some people, and that was one of them.
Well, that's the thing. It's totally understandable to lose respect for people, but like with cancel culture, my main thing is like, I don't think it's any of our business.
Yeah,
that's the main problem.
And that's the problem with like our culture today is because we are so like spoon fed through our phones, like every single bit of information we have. That's the issue at hand. It's that we just are so bored with everyday activity that we don't find the joy in the simple things anymore, and we find things to stir up to make us feel better about ourselves because to us our lives do feel dull because all we're doing is comparing ourselves to other people and what they're doing, and that's a real shame. And unfortunately that's why everybody's so involved with everyone else's business. That's why, people like Justin Bieber can't walk down the street without the 1,000 people in his face.
Probably why the world has gotten to a place of so much hate. We talk a lot about how everyone's hateful and no one's loving. Social media and the internet are probably the biggest factors of why or how it got there.
Yeah, our phones were the best and worst thing to ever happen to us, hands down.
I want to live in the era where phones came out, but weren't big yet.
Yeah, I want to live in the era of the Motorola flip phone. Like I want to say like the 90s. The 90s were a good time because you did have the phone, you did have all that kind of stuff, but
I'd like to live in the 90s.
You didn't have the internet on your phone.
Yeah, no.
You didn't have all that,
You still had to just go out and
unlimited
experience.
texting's crazy, like that. You're talking about like
I'm happy
when you were
that
young and your parents were mad that you went over your 200 texts. Imagine going over your 200 texts in the 90s.
Aren't you happy that we're on the cusp of the last generation to have that? Because like they still have that, but no one uses it.
They won't remember it.
No one will ever.
We actually had it when we were young, and I will appreciate that.
Yep.
And like when I got my first phone, I was probably like 12, 13.
I was
like a little bit later.
Yeah, I was 11, but I had the dumb phone. Did you have a dumb phone?
Yeah, I had a dumb phone. Mine was just a cool dumb phone because it was touchscreen, but like it didn't have internet or anything.
Kaylee
like
had
that.
a dumb touchscreen phone. I remember that. She was like one of the only people I remember having one. I don't remember you having a...
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I didn't have it for long because my second phone was an iPhone, and then I never switched after that.
I'm pretty sure one time I got in so much trouble with my parents that my dad it was one of those moments where he was so angry, and my dad would never like abusively hit us. Like we got spanked, but you and me are kind of on the level of we think that's
You're
okay.
allowed to get spanked.
But like, so he would never abuse us. But when it's kind of like how my dog Moose, when he gets like overly stressed and he has to bite something, and he's like he could bite you. He's like, okay, give me a second, and he leaves and he bites something else.
It's like a sensory overload.
My dad once grabbed my dumb phone, chucked it as hard as he could across the room. Thing hit the wall, shattered into pieces. I take the phone, I piece it back together. Damn thing works.
Hey, bro.
That was an era. That
dumb
kind
phones?
of
Yeah. Dumb phones are indestructible. I would have
Indestructible.
loved to have a Nokia.
I don't. I think I probably would have too.
Like,
honestly,
I just want it like once, bro. Just
to
to say
see.
I could throw it off a building and it would
You
still
know what I
work.
don't miss though? The multi-button typing, like where you'd have to be like
Where the
dot for
keys
A
were
or
the- Oh, those one, yeah.
dot L
And the
B.
fact that you had to be good at it to type fast.
There were some people back in the day who could just, like they would go through it, man.
I feel like it had to have made you smarter because you had to memorize the patterns of how many
Probably.
letters were on each number.
I wasn't really good at that, but I do remember my slide phone had the
Yeah.
keyboard. I remember being really fast at the keyboard at one point.
Even though they were like the tiniest
Tiny
buttons known
little
to man.
buttons, yeah.
Dude. Like buttons for a literal mouse's hand.
Oh man.
Yeah, those were the days, bro. Those
Oh
were
my
the days.
god, I just thought of like a kind of totally off topic subject.
That's
that
go.
I
That's
would-
all good, bro. Run it.
I was on my channel going through a lot of my old videos, not watching them, but like I was going through them for some reason, and there was like there's a clip in the new video that's coming out, no, it won't be out by the time this episode airs, but there's a clip in the new video that's coming out on Piemaster J where I talk about the fact that I've made a lot of talking videos before. So for visual effect, I went and I downloaded all of the videos where I'm just sitting in front of a camera talking. I sped all of them up and I put them in as a compilation. While I was searching for all of those videos, I came across a privated video on my YouTube page.
Oh. What do you mean?
It's
What private video, Joey?
it's a Minecraft video. Okay.
Okay.
The thumbnail was made in Word doc. That's not the point of the story. I just find it funny.
Oh my gosh, bro.
The
Okay.
words on the thumbnail say hashtag
Oh no.
Jolie.
Oh no.
For those of you who don't know, viewers of the Woodsman and Chillcast, Jolie was a combination name of me and my ex-girlfriend Kaylee. This
If
video,
you guys
bro,
haven't heard about that, we could
Where-
go into a long.
we should have an episode
debate.
about exes.
That.
No, we shouldn't.
No.
You know we have one?
Well, can we take it off? Whatever.
No.
on?
It's not on air. We have an episode somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I think you probably have it, or maybe it got lost on the last laptop. But we had one more episode of the Duck Podcast where Isaac wasn't there. We recorded it right after the New Year's episode, and the whole topic was love. And we just went into like crazy detail about our
Oh, actually,
ex-girlfriends. And
I want to say I kind of remember.
we
that
recorded
now.
it at the church because
Yes,
we did two
yes,
episodes
I
that
do-
day. We
I
did the
do
New
remember
Year's,
that
and then
now.
Isaac left,
Yeah.
and that's when you and me did one. All that being said, I was just gonna say the video was a Minecraft video, and it's a tribute video to her, and it's basically me building a statue of me and her in our like homecoming. It was so
Oh,
cringy,
Joey.
and the video.
Oh,
And I was trying to figure this out for the
Oh,
life of me,
Joey.
why the video is sped up to 2x X speed. And I figured it out. Back in the day, before I was doing a lot of YouTube videos, I didn't have the regular standard license for YouTube. So every video cut off at 10 minutes. So I had to fit any video in at 10 minutes, so I sped it up so I could fit the whole statue build.
Joey, you Casanova, you.
It's so cringy, dude. I can't believe it still
Oh.
exists. And then it like ends with like a photo of me and her, and I was like, oh god, this is the most cringy.
Probably looked like she died. Like it probably like faded in, and it was just this video of her. Like it
totally
looked like a
does.
tribute video.
Dude, it totally does, bro.
Rest in peace,
Rest in peace.
man. Rest in peace that relationship. Am I right?
Rest in hell.
Ooh. Well,
We'll have an episode where we go a little more in detail, but
I would love that. That'll be a Patreon.
That'll be a Patreon.
That'll be a Patreon. You want some you want some trauma videos? That's what you guys gotta pay for, because we won't make you pay much though.
Yeah.
Trust, we won't make you pay much. Like
$1 to $5,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. Like 5 whole doll hairs.
$5 whole would literally change our lives.
Honestly, it really would. At least I'd know it was worth it.
The moment we make even a penny on this podcast, for any reason, Patreon or not,
It's getting framed.
Absolutely.
100%.
My throat did a thing
The
again.
online bank statement. Because it wouldn't be physical cash.
Yeah.
All right, man. It's been a real one.
Thank
I
you,
hope
everybody. Oh, yeah. You go first. Sorry. I did not mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of the Woodsman Podcast. This is the Chillcast, episode 2. We're your hosts, Brent Murphy
And Joey Rucker. The Woodsman Podcast is co-produced by Brent Murphy and Joey Rucker.
Engineered by Brent Murphy and edited by Joey Rucker.
Additional editing by Brent Murphy and blood, sweat, and tears by the both of us.
Any content by the Woodsman Podcast may not be used without our permission. And remember,
If you need a place to stay, you can always chill with us.